My ex-wife questioned why I was loading my suitcase, so I revealed I was finished discovering all her secrets. When I eventually abandoned her due to her endless betrayal, she pleaded for me to return. Be me, 29-year-old Tyler. The door didn't creak when I closed it. It clicked final like a punctuation mark. At the end of a sentence I hadn't meant to write. Outside the wind was quiet. No dramatic thunderstorm. No slammed doors. No screaming. Just the sound of my own heart. Dull and mechanical. Like it was no longer part of me. Victoria was at the dining table. She was wearing the gray sweater she always said made her feel sophisticated. Her laptop was open, but she wasn't typing. She was sipping white wine. One leg crossed over the other, barefoot. Her toenails were painted crimson. She never painted them crimson. She hated the color. But here it was. And here I was. I stood in the doorway a little longer than I needed to. I think I was hoping something inside me would give me a script. Tell me what to say. How to say it. But all I had was this hollow, dry-chested feeling, and a memory playing in my head on loop. Victoria laughing. Not at something I said. Not with me. Not even around me. Just laughing somewhere I didn't belong. I finally spoke. Why are you wearing that color? She didn't look up. What color? Crimson? Her gaze lifted slow. No guilt, just that calm, bored look she used. When she thought I was overreacting about the dishes, "Oh," she said. "It's just polish. You're home early." I didn't answer. I walked past her, through the hallway into the bedroom, opened the closet, pulled down the suitcase I hadn't touched since Key West. She didn't follow at first. I unzipped it and started folding shirts. Nothing rushed. 1, 2, 3. Just like laundry day, only my hands were trembling, and I couldn't feel my face. I heard her footsteps behind me. "What are you doing?" I kept folding, kept placing things in. I couldn't look at her yet. Not until I said it. She said, "Why are you packing?" And I turned finally, with my hand around the suitcase handle, like it was an anchor. I looked her right in the eye. "Because I'm done unpacking your lies." Her face didn't crack, didn't twitch. She blinked once. Tilted her head, that little smirk, twitching at the edge of her lip. "Dramatic," she said. I nodded slowly. That's one word for it. Victoria had always been good at composure. She could lie through her teeth while stirring cream into her coffee. She could walk into a room knowing 3 people hated her and make them leave thinking they were the villains. That was Victoria. Unbothered ice. But even ice cracks if you press hard enough. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few times, and turned the screen to her. A screenshot. An Instagram story from her friend Jessica. A rooftop party 3 nights ago. The camera pans right quick. Just a few frames. Not enough for most people to notice, but enough for me to see her. My wife Victoria, kissing someone I didn't recognize. In the corner of the frame, his hand around her neck, her body pressed against him, like it belonged there. I said nothing, just held the screen. She looked at it, then looked at me, then walked to the dresser, picked up her wine again. "You saw a kiss," she said calmly. "Not a confession. You're not even denying it." She shrugged. "What's the point?" And that hit harder than anything else. The shrug, the complete lack of fight, like she was already living in the after, and I was the one catching up. "You really want to blow everything up over a kiss?" she added. My voice came back thick and low. It wasn't a kiss. It was betrayal. She raised her glass. "Potato, potato." I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't cry. I just zipped the suitcase and pulled it upright. "Where are you going?" she asked. Voice light. Amused. Like this was a game. I looked around the room. Our framed photo from Barcelona still on the wall, the scented candle she bought because it smelled like vanilla, the throw blanket I always hated but kept anyway. "I don't know yet," I said. Then I looked her dead in the eyes. "But I sure as hell know where I'm not staying." She didn't follow me as I walked out. She didn't plead, didn't chase. She just refilled her wine, and when the door clicked behind me, I swear I heard her laugh. I slept in my car that night. Leather seat leaned all the way back, jacket for a blanket. Engine off because I didn't want to waste gas. July in Miami isn't cold, but the silence can make your bones feel like winter. I parked outside a 24-hour diner on Ocean Drive. and stared through the windshield like it owed me answers. My phone buzzed twice. Not her, just Nathan, my best friend since 4th grade. He'd seen the message I sent an hour earlier. "Can I crash at yours tomorrow?" He replied, "Doors open, beers cold, you good?" I didn't answer. Was I good? No, I wasn't good. I was something else. Something sour and splintered. There's this thing that happens when the person who knows all your soft spots is the one who slices into them without blinking. I wasn't hurt in the usual sense. It was deeper than that. Like a dislocation in the soul. You go to stand up and realize something doesn't fit where it used to. Victoria and I had a quiet kind of relationship. We weren't loud lovers. No screaming matches. No PDA in front of strangers. But that made the betrayal hit even harder. You don't expect fire when everything's always been ice. And still somehow I kept trying to logic my way through it. Maybe it was just a kiss. Maybe they were drunk. Maybe she got caught in a moment. But no, the moment didn't explain her face. It didn't explain the way she looked at me, like I was the idiot. Like I was the one who'd messed up by caring too much. I thought of her fingers trailing down his jacket. Like they belonged there. I thought of her nails painted crimson, when she'd sworn she hated that color. I thought of the half laugh in her throat, when she said, "What's the point?" That wasn't guilt. That wasn't panic. That was apathy. And apathy is worse than anger. Anger means you still care. I must have dozed off, because I woke up with a stiff neck and the sun burning through the windshield. 7:12 a.m. A text was waiting. "Victoria, we should talk." 3 words. No question mark. No apology. No desperation. Just "we should talk." Like she was scheduling a dentist appointment. I didn't respond. I turned on the ignition, pulled out of the lot, and drove aimlessly for about 40 minutes. Before heading toward Nathan's place, he lived in a loft above a record shop. Used to be a coffee roastery. Now it smelled like vinyl and burnt espresso. When I walked in, he didn't say anything, just handed me a beer and nodded at the couch. I sat down, didn't touch the drink. "She cheat?" he asked. "Yeah." He rubbed his jaw. "You catch her?" "Yeah." "What did she say?" I stared at the floor. She said potato, potato. Nathan's eyebrows went up. He let out a low whistle. "Cold." "Yeah." He leaned back in his chair. "So what now?" I didn't know. I really didn't. There was still this dumb, echoing part of me. Hoping she'd call again. Hoping she'd say something that made it all make sense. That would explain the crimson nails. The Instagram frame. The shrug. But deep down I knew. There wasn't going to be a confession. There wasn't going to be a sobbing apology. Victoria wasn't built that way. She was going to move on before the dust even settled. And for the first time I realized, maybe I needed to learn how to do the same. I didn't text her back. Not that day. Not the next. Nathan let me crash on his couch for the rest of the week. And I buried myself in work emails, spreadsheets, client presentations, anything that didn't involve thinking about Victoria, or the way she didn't even bother to lie convincingly. But lies rot in silence. They don't just disappear. They sit there festering, until they push their way out. And hers, they pushed. Thursday night. I'd just gotten back from a grocery run. Eggs, instant noodles, stuff I didn't even want but needed to feel human again. When my phone lit up, a call? Victoria. I stared at it for a solid 45 seconds. Then I picked up. "Hey," I said flatly. "Tyler," she breathed. And for the first time, her voice sounded different, like it didn't have control. "Can we meet?" I didn't answer. She continued. "Please, just one conversation." "I'll come to you. I owe you that." The word "owe" scratched something in me. "Fine," I said. 25 minutes. Corner of Biscayne and Flagler. "Don't be late." I hung up. I didn't tell Nathan. Didn't want a speech. I walked to the meeting spot early. Stood near the light pole across from a bakery that was already closed. The sky was turning purple. Clouds slow moving, like even they didn't want to rush this. She showed up in a black coat. Hair down. Face body. No makeup. That was new. She always wore something. Even to bed. And for a split second, I almost felt sympathy. Almost. "Thanks for coming," she said. I said nothing. She sighed. "Look, I messed up." "That's a start." She nodded. biting her lip like she was searching for a script that didn't exist. It wasn't planned. The rooftop party that night. I was drunk. Yeah, but I wasn't that drunk. And I'm not going to insult you by saying I didn't know what I was doing. That's a shame, I said. Would have been easier to hear than the truth. She looked down. You want the truth? I folded my arms. That would be a first. She looked up, and there it was. That Victoria face, but cracked now, afraid at the corners. I was bored. Bored. That word hit me like ice water in the lungs. I didn't cheat because I stopped loving you, she said. I cheated because I stopped feeling anything at all. I blinked. She kept going. You're steady. You're safe. You always were. You were the guy I could build a life with. But somewhere in the middle of brunches and movie nights and folding towels, I stopped feeling alive. Didn't realize I was your coma, I said. Don't, she snapped. Don't make this a joke. You made it a joke the moment you let him kiss you. Silence stretched between us. Then she said something I never expected. It wasn't just once. Of course it wasn't. My hands tightened into fists, not out of rage, but from restraint. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to cry. How long? 7 months, she said. I almost laughed. So basically a third of our marriage. It wasn't like that. Don't finish that sentence, I interrupted. Don't you dare paint this as some inevitable breakdown. You had a choice. You chose. She stepped closer. I didn't come here to fix things. I know I broke it too far for that. I didn't want to leave without saying something real. I looked at her. Then I said, then say something real. Not poetic. Not tragic. Just real. She swallowed. You deserved better. I nodded. I know. She looked like she wanted to hug me. To touch my arm, I stepped back. This is goodbye, Victoria. She blinked fast. So that's it? I stared at her. Yeah, I said. That's it. Then I walked away. Didn't look back. The truth is, when someone shows you they've been building a new world without you in it, the only real response is to leave them in it. That you'd think the end of a marriage would come with fireworks, or some kind of final scream. Some scene you can replay later and say, that's when it all burned down. But no. Real endings are quiet. Awkward. They don't sound like thunder. They sound like nothing at all. I didn't talk to Victoria again after that night on the corner. She didn't text. She didn't call. No emails. No fake emergencies with the bank or the dog or a misplaced bill. To keep the thread going, she just vanished. As if she'd flipped a switch in her head and erased me. Like I was a misstep. Not a memory. And that's what really stuck. Not the kiss. Not the lie. Not even the 7 months of secret rendezvous. With whatever sad excuse of a man was pathetic enough. To think stealing someone's wife was a prize. It was the clean surgical silence. Like I never mattered. 3 days after that meeting, I went back to the apartment to grab the rest of my things. Nathan came with me. Not because I asked, but because he showed up at the door with 2 coffees and a crowbar. Just in case, he said. The place felt smaller. I don't know if that was psychological, or if Victoria had actually moved things around. The couch was in a different spot. The painting I bought her for our 4th anniversary, the one she said tied the room together, was gone. So were my jackets, my slippers, my toothbrush. There wasn't a trace of me left in that apartment. Not even the scent of my cologne lingered. She'd erased me with precision. You okay? Nathan asked. I bent down, grabbed a photo frame off the end table. Us at a beach house 2 summers ago. I was holding her hand. She was looking at me like I was the only man in the world. I put the frame face down and left it there. Let's get this over with. Took 27 minutes. I kept count because every second inside that place felt like suffocating on drywall dust. Nathan packed the boxes like a machine. I just moved slow, like my hands didn't remember what was mine. When we were done, I left my keys on the counter. I didn't write a note. Didn't take one last look. There was nothing to look at. Victoria had made it clear this wasn't my home anymore. The elevator ride down was long and quiet. Nathan was staring at the floor. He didn't say anything until we reached the parking garage. She's a ghost man, he said. Dead to you. Remember that? I nodded. I wanted to believe him. We loaded up the trunk. On the drive back, I looked out the window the whole time. Felt like I was watching someone else's life through a screen. Like I was just some extra in a movie that was being recast. Back at Nathan's place, I unpacked only what I needed. Toothbrush. 2 shirts. 1 pair of jeans. I didn't touch the rest. I didn't want to. They still smelled like the life I lost. That night I tried to sleep. I closed my eyes and kept seeing that rooftop frame. The side of her face blurry in the corner. Mouth against someone else's jaw. Her hands confident. Familiar. She wasn't confused. She wasn't sorry. She was gone long before I walked out. And for the first time since this started, I stopped hoping she'd come back. Grief is supposed to come in stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But nobody tells you those stages overlap like hell. They twist around each other until you can't tell which one you're in. 1 minute I was fine, rational, steady, telling myself it was for the best. The next, I'd catch a whiff of her shampoo in a grocery store aisle and feel like someone dropped a cinder block on my chest. I started working longer hours, anything to stay out of my head. I volunteered for late-night shifts, client calls, inventory reports. I even offered to cover for Marcus, the guy with 2 kids, just so I wouldn't have to sit in Nathan's apartment alone at night. Wondering if Victoria had brought Kevin? Yeah, I finally found out his name. Into our bed yet. And then came the message. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Right after lunch, I was in the break room stirring sugar into black coffee when I felt my phone buzz. Unknown number. No name. Heard you moved out. Didn't take you for a runner. Ka. I stared at the screen like it was a bad joke. Kevin. That smug single-syllable clown had the nerve to text me. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to. Because if I did, I knew I'd lose control. And he'd win. But silence doesn't mean peace. That message turned my brain inside out. How did he get my number? Why would he reach out? What kind of parasite not only wrecks someone else's relationship, but then tries to poke at the fallout like it's sport? I spent the whole day imagining punching him. Not yelling. Not confronting. Just one clean hit to the jaw. No words. That was the fantasy. But real life doesn't work like that. Real life makes you sit in your car after your shift ends. Phone screen lighting up with Victoria's name again. This time a voicemail. I listened. She sounded tired. Not sad. Just drained. Hey, I didn't give him your number. I want you to know that I'm sorry he did that. I'll block him if you want. Anyway, just wanted to say that no, I miss you. No, let's talk. Just a clean-up call. She wanted to control the narrative. She always did. Even now, she couldn't stomach being the one who let her little side project run his mouth. But what got me wasn't the content of her voice. It was the tone, detached, cold. Like she was reporting a plumbing issue. That night, Nathan and I split a bottle of bourbon in silence. Midway through glass number 3, he finally asked, "You ever think about why she picked him?" I shook my head. "Every damn day." He leaned back, lit a cigarette. "It's not 'cause he's better than you. Probably not even because he's different. People like her, they pick what they think they deserve in that moment. She wanted a cheap thrill, someone to light a fire under her ego. It's not about you, man. It never was. I wanted to believe that. God, I did. But belief doesn't erase pain. It doesn't undo the image of the person you loved. Looking happy in someone else's arms, it doesn't silence the voice that says you weren't enough. But I was starting to realize something darker. It's not that I wasn't enough. It's that she never really let me be anything at all. It was Friday when I finally opened the storage box, the one I had shoved in the back of Nathan's spare closet. The one with all the remnants of a life that now felt like it belonged to someone else. Photos, letters, cards she wrote on our anniversaries, a menu from the restaurant where I proposed. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe a clue. Maybe closure. Maybe a version of Victoria that felt real again. What I found was evidence that I had loved someone who never existed. Victoria was always good with words. Her handwriting was sharp, elegant, confident. In one card she wrote, "You are my anchor in the storm, my truth in a world of noise. I could never betray what we have." That was from year 2. 4 years later, she was sneaking off to happy hours and calling them team meetings. I read that line over and over again. I could never betray what we have. And yet she had. Easily. Quietly. Like brushing dust off a windowsill. I laughed. A dry, bitter sound that startled even me. I wasn't angry in that moment. I was embarrassed, ashamed of how long I held on, how fiercely I clung to the illusion that we were something worth saving. Nathan walked in, took one look at the mess on the floor, and said, "You sure you want to dig through that?" I nodded. "Yeah, I think I need to." He sat down across from me, took a photo from the pile. It was us at the zoo. She had cotton candy in her hand. I had a stupid hat on. We looked young. Stupid. Unbothered. "You still love her?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. "I think I loved the version I thought she was," I finally said. "But that woman's gone? Or maybe she never existed. Maybe she was just a well-dressed lie with nice perfume?" Nathan nodded slowly. "You're getting there." "Where?" "To the part where you stop bleeding." I appreciated that he didn't give me some hallmark line about moving on. He just acknowledged the process. The wound, the slow scab. I spent the rest of the night burning the letters. In a metal bin on the balcony, one by one. Watched the edges curl black and flake into ash. I thought I'd feel dramatic, like I was in some breakup movie montage. But no, it just felt clean, strangely clean. The last thing I burned was a receipt from a hotel stay. 8 months ago. 2 guests. 1 room. She said she was out of town for a conference. Guess that's what we're calling bed hopping now. As it burned, I whispered something I didn't expect. "Thank you." Not to her. To the truth. Because as much as it hurt to watch my life collapse, it hurt more living inside a fake one. Victoria didn't destroy a happy marriage. She exposed the fact that there wasn't one left to destroy. And somewhere in those flames, I realized I was finally free. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. It was 3 weeks after I burned the last of our past. A Friday afternoon, warm for late July. I had taken the day off, partly to breathe, partly because Nathan all but shoved me out the door and said, "Go be a person again." So I did. I walked through the farmer's market in South Beach, sunglasses on, coffee in hand, pretending I had a normal life again. Then I saw her. Victoria, hair up in a loose bun, sundress, laughing with him. Kevin, it wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a scandal. It was casual. Too casual. He was holding a basket of vegetables, like he belonged in her life, like this wasn't built on lies and secrecy, but on grocery lists and shared toothpaste. She didn't see me, at least not right away. I froze. I wasn't prepared. I thought I had moved past this. Thought the flames in that metal bin had cauterized every nerve she used to touch. But my chest caved in for a second. Just a second. Then she turned. Our eyes met. She didn't flinch. She didn't look surprised. She looked smug, like she'd won. I took a step forward before I could stop myself. Not toward her. Toward clarity. Kevin saw me too now. His face twitched barely. I think he recognized me from photos she must have shown him, or maybe from that one time we shook hands at a company party. And he said, "Lucky guy." Victoria leaned into him and said something. He laughed. That did it. I walked over. Calm. Controlled. "Hi, Victoria," I said. My voice was even, so steady it scared me. "Tyler," she replied, not missing a beat. "Didn't expect to see you here." Kevin cleared his throat like he wanted to say something, but I ignored him. "I see you moved on quickly," I said. She shrugged. "Time doesn't move the same when you've already checked out." That was her. Little needles dipped in honey. "Don't worry," I said. "I'm not here for drama." "Good," she smiled. "Because you look better without it." There it was. The twist. The manipulation. Make me feel like the unhinged one. The one still clinging. I turned to Kevin. "Hope you brought your own armor." "She burns through loyalty like a scented candle." He blinked, taken off guard, then glanced at her. She didn't flinch. "I'm not going to fight you," she said. "I'm happy now." "You're a lot of things," I replied. But honest was never one of them. I turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing." She raised an eyebrow. "I'm not angry anymore. That's not why I walked over. I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. How fast something built on betrayal can pretend to be a future." I didn't wait for her reply. I walked away. Each step felt lighter. She didn't call after me, and I didn't look back. Not once. The strange thing about survival is how ordinary it looks from the outside. People expect it to be dramatic. Epiphanies at 3 a.m., tears in the rain, a big life reset. But that's not how it happened. It came in quiet moments, like finding myself at the hardware store, debating between two light bulb brands, and realizing that for the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about her, or the morning I made coffee. Took a sip, and didn't instinctively reach for a second mug. She used to take hers with almond oat milk. I bought it out of habit even after I moved out. The carton sat unopened in the fridge until it expired. I threw it away without flinching. Progress. I started taking long walks in the evenings. No destination. Just air and asphalt and the echo of my own thoughts. It was on one of those walks that I passed by a woman, sitting on the steps outside her building, sketching in a notebook. She looked up, smiled politely, then went back to her drawing. I kept walking, but for some reason I couldn't stop thinking about her face. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she looked unburdened, focused, present. Everything Victoria had stopped being long before she ever kissed Kevin. That night, I opened a note on my phone and just started typing. No plan, no structure, just thoughts. I wasn't perfect. I worked too much, forgot small things. I was tired sometimes, emotionally distant. But I never lied, never looked at someone else like they were the way out. I showed up every damn day and it wasn't enough. But maybe that's not on me. I stared at those words for a long time. Then I hit save. Not delete. Not backspace. Save. A week later, Nathan handed me a spare key. Stay as long as you want, he said. But I think you're ready. Ready for what? He shrugged. Something that's yours again. So I started apartment hunting. Nothing fancy, just somewhere small. Clean. Quiet. Mine. During a tour of a one-bedroom near Coral Gables, the leasing agent said, "It's got great light in the mornings. Faces east." I walked into the empty bedroom, stood in the sunlight, and for the first time since this whole mess began, I felt still, not hollow, not bitter, just still, like I had landed, like maybe finally I had started to rebuild, brick by brick. Alone but whole. The day I moved into my new place, it rained. Not heavy, just that light, persistent kind that makes the streets shimmer and the air smell clean. I liked it. Felt like the right weather for a new chapter. Quiet. Calm. Nothing dramatic. The apartment wasn't big, but it was mine. Hardwood floors. Exposed brick in the living room. A kitchen with just enough space for a table and 2 chairs. I bought only one. Nathan helped me carry boxes. He cracked open a beer once we were done and said, "You sure this place isn't too grown up for you?" I smiled. "Nah, I think I've done enough growing up in the last few months." He nodded, clinked his bottle against mine, and didn't push further. That's the thing about Nathan. He never forces a conversation. He just gives you space and waits for you to fill it. And I did eventually. "I saw her again," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "What now?" "Nothing. She didn't see me. She was outside her office. Alone this time. Looked tired. Like she hadn't slept. Guilty conscience? Doubt it. Probably just late nights with Kevin." We both laughed. But there wasn't any venom in it. Just a tired edge of irony. I paused. "You ever wonder if they'll make it? Like her and him?" Nathan leaned back. Took a sip. "Honestly doesn't matter. What they have or don't have isn't your business anymore." "I know. I sighed. "I want to know it was real. That I wasn't completely blind." "You weren't blind," he said. "You were in. There's a difference." That hit deeper than he probably realized. Because I had been all the way in, the kind of in that plans retirement trips and kids' names, and argues over curtain colors. Because you think you'll be looking at them together for the next 30 years. And she had one foot out the door, and a smile reserved for someone else. But Nathan was right. Her life now wasn't mine to care about anymore. I was building something else. A few nights later, I lit a candle on the windowsill and sat in the chair by the window. I watched the street, people walking their dogs, a couple laughing under one umbrella, a teenager skating alone with earbuds in. The world kept moving. So did I. I picked up a pen and started writing again. Not a letter. Not to her. Just a thought. You don't need revenge to heal. You don't need closure from the one who broke you. Sometimes all you need is space and silence and time, and maybe a new place with east-facing windows. That night I slept better than I had in months, not because everything was fixed, but because I wasn't broken anymore. 4 months had passed. The pain was different now. Not gone, just dulled into something I could carry without wincing, like a scar you forget about until someone brushes against it. It only hurt if I looked too long in the wrong direction. Victoria hadn't reached out again. Not once. No texts. No accidental, I thought I deleted your number moments. Nothing. And surprisingly, that was the hardest part. Because silence, true committed silence, has a weight. It makes you question everything you thought you meant to someone. There was a time I would have bet my life that I was her person, her anchor, her safe place. Turns out I was just the phase before she decided to be someone else. But healing has a strange rhythm. I found joy in new rituals. Coffee by the window every morning. Reading again, actual novels, not just articles between meetings. I joined a boxing gym. Hit the bag 3 times a week. Each punch wasn't about her. It was about me, finding my rhythm, my power, my breath. One night after a late workout, I stopped at the corner store for water. I stepped into line behind a woman fumbling through her bag for change. She apologized to the cashier, flustered, and I instinctively said, "Don't worry, I've got it." She turned, surprised, big hazel eyes, soft smile. "You sure?" I nodded. "Yeah, don't worry about it." We walked out at the same time. "You always pay for strangers?" she asked, amused. "Only the ones who forget their wallets." She laughed. "Well, thanks, I'm Sophia." Tyler. We talked for 6 minutes outside the store. Maybe 7. It wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't forced. It was easy. She wasn't Victoria, and thank God for that. She didn't ask about my past. I didn't ask about hers. It was just 2 strangers in the middle of a city where everything moves too fast, sharing a quiet second that felt like something clean. Before we parted ways, she said, "Maybe I'll see you around." "Maybe," I said. But I didn't force it. Didn't ask for her number. I just let it be. Because healing isn't always about what you start. Sometimes it's about what you let go. Victoria was gone. Kevin was irrelevant. The pain had shape now. Manageable. Familiar. And me, I was still here. Still breathing. Still becoming. Fall came fast. The air got sharper. Leaves scattered the sidewalks. And I swapped my t-shirts for hoodies without even noticing. The world kept moving forward, and somehow I was moving with it. By then, Victoria had become a shadow, not a ghost. Ghosts haunt you. Shadows are just reminders. Quick. Passing. The outline of what used to be. Sometimes I caught myself thinking about her. Not because I missed her, but because I still couldn't quite grasp how someone could disappear that easily. No fight. No regret. Just a clean exit, like closing a tab in a browser. But by that point, I'd stopped trying to understand her. She had made her choices. She picked Kevin, or maybe she picked herself. Either way, I wasn't in the equation anymore, and I was starting to realize I preferred it that way. Then something strange happened. I got a message on Instagram from a name I barely recognized. Jessica. Her friend? The one who posted that rooftop story? The one that broke the dam? The message was short. "I know it's not my place, but you deserve to know the truth." She was seeing him for almost a year. It didn't start at the party. "I'm sorry, I should have said something sooner." I stared at it. Almost a year. Not 7 months. Not 8. Almost a full calendar of betrayal behind my back. While I made her coffee and booked anniversary trips and asked her about her day, I thought I'd feel rage or heartbreak, but I felt nothing. It was like Jessica was talking about a different life, a different man. Because the guy she betrayed, he didn't exist anymore. He died the moment she smirked and said, "Potato, potato." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The truth, late as it was, didn't change anything. It just confirmed what I already knew deep down. Victoria hadn't fallen into a mistake. She'd built one. Brick by brick, lie by lie, smile by smile. The clarity didn't hurt. It freed me. That weekend, I went to the lake alone, sat on a bench with a thermos of black coffee, and watched the water stir under a cloudy sky. Cold wind, but clean air. My kind of peace. And I realized something: forgiveness isn't about them. It's not about letting them off the hook or pretending it didn't happen. It's about putting the weight down. I whispered it. Not to anyone, just to the water. I forgive you, Victoria, and I meant it. Because forgiveness, I'd learned, isn't about who deserves it, it's about who needs it. And I needed to be done. It's strange how endings feel nothing like you expect. There's no music swell, no perfect parting line, just a slow fade into something new, quiet, then honest, clean. It's been 7 months now. 7 months since I stood in that apartment and told Victoria I was done unpacking her lies. 7 months since she shrugged and didn't chase me. Since I walked away and didn't look back. I still think about it sometimes. Not her, just the moment, that turning point where you realize someone you loved wasn't just flawed but false. That kind of realization doesn't crack like thunder. It seeps in over time, filling all the small spaces you didn't know were hollow. I've changed. I don't mean in some movie montage way. No haircut. No glow up. I still drink the same cheap coffee and wear the same beat-up sneakers. But inside, something is different. I speak slower now. More deliberately, I say no without guilt. I say yes only when I mean it. And I've learned to enjoy being alone, not lonely. There's a difference. I never reached out to Victoria again. She never reached out to me either. In the end, I think we both understood. The only closure we'd ever get was the door slamming shut behind us. And that's okay. Not every wound needs a witness. Last weekend, I ran into Sophia again. The woman from the corner store. She was at the bookstore cafe, sipping chai and reading something thick and old. She looked up, smiled like she remembered. I walked over, sat down. We talked for an hour. It was easy. We didn't mention pasts, didn't talk about wounds or warnings. Just books, music, life. She laughed at something I said, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Peace, not excitement. Not obsession, just a calm, gentle warmth in my chest. And it hit me. This is what it's supposed to feel like. No games. No power struggles. No silence like a threat. Just two people present. That night I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and looked myself in the eye. Really looked. Not for flaws. Not for damage. Just to see who was there. And I saw him, the man who stayed loyal even when his world was being rewritten behind his back. The man who walked away not because he was weak, but because he finally knew his worth. The man who lost something broken and found something whole. I turned off the light, went to bed, slept through the night. No dreams of her, no bitterness, just breath, just rest. And this morning I woke up with a feeling I didn't recognize at first. Took me a second to name it. But then I did. Freedom.